channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Titans Return Skullsmasher. So before we get into this review, I did want to thank all of you who watched me, who of course just like, comment, subscribe, all of that. Really, thank you so much for all the support recently. My G-Axis review recently has like 30 likes. That's crazy, and a ton of comments and support on it. And also my most recent news video on the Studio Series pack has a ton of support on that too, which is super cool because typically news videos like those, I know, of course, are not as popular because there's a ton of Transformer reviewers out there who talk about, of course, all that news. So typically I don't expect a lot from those videos, a lot of course, support and a lot of views from it. But you actually got a lot of support for that, for those videos and more. So thank you so much for all the support recently. That means a lot. Let's now get into this review. So here we have Skullsmasher in his really cool looking alligator mode. Let's take a look at the details. We're going to start at the very front with this amazing looking head sculpt. So of course we have the nice underjaw there done in red, of course, with the teeth done in this nice gray. There is actually a little bit of pliable plastic so you can have these big sharp teeth there, and of course it won't poke you or anything. Of course the upper jaw here is done in this nice green with some red for the eye. Nice gunmetal gray for the top forehead section with a nice Decepticon symbol there, looking very nice and shiny. For the hands or the feet here, some nice white for the claws, some red and green. Lots of spikes on the very top, which looks very cool, very nice. And of course the same detail repeated on the other foot. On these back legs here we have some nice whites, some green. I do like all this mechanical hinging and nuts and bolts there. That's super cool. I think they did a really good job with the mixture of a sort of realistic alligator and a more, robotic alligator. It's super cool, kind of a fine line between them. And of course some nice silver on the side there with the Decepticon symbol, some purple there, some black, looks really good. Of course we have the tail here, lots of spikes, some white there. Overall looks really cool. This is actually by far one of my favorite Titans Return figures. So glad I have this. There is actually a repaint of this figure, and if you want me to review that, I will. Just let me know in the comment section down below. Detail-wise, looks super cool. Let's now get into the features and accessories. So he does have two accessories. He comes with a blaster and sort of a mace tail weapon. They actually store back here. It is actually this piece right here, which can be removed just like that, and it just pegs over top. And the blaster is actually inside the tail. So storage-wise, I actually think it works really well. There really isn't any other place or area where you can put the blaster, so I typically just put it there. So now for features, of course, this is Titans Return, so he does come with a Titan Master or Headmaster, which this is this figure right here. Of course, it does match that same color scheme with the black and the dark green, which looks pretty good. He does have some bronze on his face, which looks pretty good. And you can actually store him in the alligator mode, so if you lift this little panel up, which is used with kind of a pliable plastic, which is quite nice, you can just drop him in there. There's a space right in there, just like that. And he can sit in there and like control the alligator, which is super cool. And from a top view, you can barely even tell there is actually a panel that opens. It's super cool. I would not recommend pushing this all the way in because it's actually very hard to get this panel open. So just leave it a little bit open so you can easily open and close it. But that's a really cool feature. I'm really glad of that. So overall, feature-wise, that's pretty much it. And accessories, really good storage. Let's now get into some comparisons. So now for our first comparison, here we have Skullsmasher and Croc, the direct repaint of this mold. So two really cool looking alligator modes. Super glad I have these two figures. So sculpt wise, they're the exact same thing. There is no mold changes at all. Of course, just a completely new deco of this black and yellow. And I actually really do like this look. It's almost kind of illuminated, kind of glow in the dark vibe. It actually looks super cool. So if you want me to review this figure, I will gladly get to that very, very soon. So yeah, two really cool looking alligators. Definitely my favorite is the original Skullsmasher. Really cool looking, realistic kind of green and red look to it. Looks really nice with all the spikes. And of course, feature wise, the exact same accessories for both of these, and it does have that storage where you can put the Titan Master inside, which is pretty cool. It's a little bit more visible with this one. I actually kind of like how it's hidden. So overall, pretty cool comparison. Let's now move into a few more Titans Return comparisons. Here he is with a few more Titans Return figures. Here he is with Hot Rod, just to show you how big he is compared to a typical deluxe size car, which is pretty cool. There we go. And just taking him off to the side for one more quick comparison, a figure that I did actually review quite recently. Here he is with Titans Return Hardhead, another really cool Titans Return figure, definitely in the top 5 favorite of Titans Return. So yeah, pretty cool looking figure. So that's pretty much it for comparisons. Let's now get into articulation. So of course you can leave the Titan Master in there if you want, or of course you could take the tail off, which is what I'm going to do, because unfortunately this connection for the tail isn't the most secure, but motion wise it can really just move back and forth, so there really isn't that much for the tail. For the legs here, they can rotate all the way around, and they can move a little bit out and in, and that is pretty much it. For the front, there is a swivel, there's another hinge at the claw, and there is also another swivel here on that section. Of course, same for the other side. Ball joints at the head, so you can rotate all the way around, and of course the mouth can open and close. And that is pretty much it for articulation. Let me just snap this tail back on there. Pretty good articulation, of course, slightly limited because, it is an alligator, so I wouldn't say the greatest articulation in these back legs because they are pretty stock. Of course, these are actually the arms of the robot mode, so these are slightly limited, but pretty good articulation. Let's now move into transformation. Now for transformation, what you're going to want to do is make sure the Titan Master is out of the storage section and off to the side. As for the accessories, you can take this off the end, and you can just pop the gun out, just wiggle it out like that, and how this works is there is a peg and a port, and that's how that stores. We can just put that off to the side just like that. And now what you're going to want to do is get the legs, just unfold these like that and bring them forward, and there's this little section here, and we'll just kind of tab into place like that. Unfortunately, the legs on my copy are a bit loose, so it's kind of hard to stand him sometimes. Now you can bring out the feet, which are also quite small as well, so not easy for him to stand with those. And now we can go to the top section. I'm going to raise the camera just a little bit. We can then go back here, get the whole alligator section, and just move this back. As you can see, there is some slots and tabs, and that's how that works. You can then use the shoulder joint, bring that down just like that. You can then bring the claws back, flip out the hands, move this in, bring the claw out, flip out the hands, and there is the full body complete. Of course, he is missing his head, so what you're going to want to do is get the Titan Master, fold in the arms, fold this up, and this will just plug in at the top like that, and there we have Skullsmasher in his really cool looking G1 Titan's Return robot mode. That looks super cool. Let's take a look at the details. Now let's take a look at the details of this amazing looking figure. Starting at the very top, I really do like how the bronze of this face matches the bronze on the Titan Master Headmaster's face. That looks pretty cool. Some black, some green for the shoulders, some red for the forearms, some more white for these little claw sections at the forearm. I do like the nice layered effect with this green on the stomach section. That actually looks quite nice. There's some nice white there, some silver and red. That looks really good. And of course, some more green for the main bulk of the chest and stomach region. Some more white at the waist and top of the legs. I do like the nice spikes and green and red for the bottom of the legs. Of course, on the side there is the hind legs or back legs of the alligator. You can really just put those there, or you can hinge them, really on your own personal preference. And the alligator face or head is on the back, and you really can't do much about it. It really just kind of sits there. I don't think it looks too bad. It's really not that bad of a backpack. So overall, detail wise, very G1 accurate, looks really cool in my opinion. Unfortunately, his legs are actually very, very loose and kind of annoying for him to stand, so I do apologize if he falls over or anything like that, but overall, detail-wise, looks super cool. Let's now get into articulation. So at the top, he can look left and right. It's really on a ball joint, so all of that. There is a hinge at the arm. There is a ball joint at the shoulder. You can move out and in. There is a swivel here. There is another swivel here. It's kind of hard to do it one at a time. There's another swivel here. There is an elbow bend and no hand articulation or anything. There is waist rotation. There is a hinge out for the leg and forward and back. There is a knee bend, and there is a swivel, and of course no ankle pivot. That really started in the War for Cybertron trilogy, so kind of unfortunate for this figure, and unfortunately his legs are very loose on my copy, but articulation wise he actually has some pretty good articulation in really the top half of the figure for the arms. Pretty good. Of course, he does have a waist swivel, which is always nice. Let's now get into the accessories. Again, he does come with two. He comes with this really cool, very simple pistol, that same color as the legs and waist, and you can just plug this into his hand just like that, which looks pretty cool. And he also does come with this mace accessory or tail accessory. So there is a peg and there is a port in his hand, and you can just slide that into place just like that. So now he has his tail mace, which does make it a little bit harder for him to stand. It does make him a little bit heavy on his arms, but I actually think that looks pretty cool. So that's pretty much it for the robot mode. Let's now get into some comparison. Now for one quick comparison, here we have Skullsmasher and Croc, his other repaint or mold mate, which is two pretty cool looking figures. So sculpt-wise, the only change is with the Titan Master, or the head sculpt, which is pretty different in design. And of course, the main body and everything is exactly the same. Same accessories, of course, just a brand new deco. And I really wouldn't have minded a Decepticon symbol on his chest, just like Croc has. I think that looks pretty good there. But overall, two pretty cool figures. I just wish the joints were a little bit tighter on this figure. Actually, Croc is much better where the legs are concerned, but still kind of hard to stand with the small feet. But yeah, overall, two pretty cool looking figures, and I highly suggest if you can get them. I think that's pretty much it for the comparison. Let's now move into the final thoughts. Let's now get into the final thoughts for the Transformers Titans Return Skullsmasher. So overall, I think this figure is actually really good. Let's start with the robot mode. Detail-wise, very G1 accurate. Love the accessories, the pistol, and the really cool mace weapon. I think they disguise the mace as the tail very, very well. It's not too obvious and just, you know, sticks out and it's in a random place. I think it actually really works. I do wish the joints were much, much tighter in the legs. It's actually very hard to stand sometimes, and unfortunately, loose joints and very bad feet really do not mix. He has very tiny feet, and they're actually very hollow legs in the back, if you can actually see a lot of emptiness there, which is unfortunate. So not the easiest to stand, especially when you have all of his accessories in his hands, but after a little bit of fiddling, you can get it in some pretty cool poses like this one. Overall articulation is actually pretty good in the legs. Of course, no ankle pivot. That was really mostly started in the War Decepticon trilogy. Pretty good articulation in the arms, actually 2 swivels, several hinges and ball joints, no wrist rotation or hand rotation, which is kind of typical for most figures, even nowadays, but overall, really well done robot mode. Of course, his alligator head just does kind of stick on his back, but I don't think it looks too bad. If you wanted to, his head is actually on a ball joint, so if you wanted to, you could actually take off the alligator head and put it off to the side if you wanted to, just make sure not to lose it. Transformation-wise, both ways, it's actually very simple. You really just kind of fold everything up. Pretty simple. I think it's like 10, 12 steps. I don't have the box with me, but that would be my guess. Alligator mode actually is super cool. I love and love the alligator modes. I think this is like my only alligator related figure, or you know, creature related figure. So I actually think this is super cool. I think they did a really good job with having some characteristics, of course, of a real life alligator, but also having it sort of metal and mechanical. There's several areas where there's a lot of nuts and bolts and joints, which is really cool. Of course, I love all the spikes. The tail is super cool, and you can actually store the blaster inside the tail, which is actually quite nice. It's really not that obvious at all. You can only tell there's a blaster in the tail if you turn it, of course, on the bottom side of the figure, or the alligator mode. So that's pretty cool and clever how they fit in there. There's a really nice feature where you can get the Titan Master Headmaster and store it inside the alligator mode, which is actually really nice because the panel that covers it is the exact same color and detail as the rest of the alligator. So it's actually very, you know, hard to tell if it's even there. It's actually a really cool secret hidden feature, which I really do like. Overall, my only complaint for the alligator mode is, unfortunately, the back legs or hind legs of the alligator are actually very limited in articulation. Unfortunately, they're actually completely stock. There is no hinge at the knee or anything. There's much more articulation in the front legs, which I would like for the back as well, but that's a very small complaint. Overall, a really cool looking figure. If you want me to review his mold mate, Croc, of course, the exact same figure, just a slight mold change where the head is concerned. In the alligator mode, it's the exact same, so not a lot of change. I think this is definitely the better version of the two. I do wish joints were a little bit tighter, but overall, appearance-wise and just design in general, I like this one more. Let me know what you think of this figure in the comment section down below. Of course, I don't have any more legacy figures to review right now. I'm hoping to get the Wave 2 Deluxes as soon as possible, so whenever I get them, of course, I review them, but for now, I probably will keep doing some more throwback reviews. So, in the comment section down below, what other throwback reviews should I do? I have a lot of Titans Return figures, Power of the Prime, a few Commander Wars, so name them and I probably will have them. Let me know in the comments section below, and I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you next.